You know, like how we have little moments where something may happen in the day and we try to throw the whole day away, as opposed to just looking at it as like that was just one bad moment of that day. You don't have to throw the whole day away. You can reset and keep going on about your day. And another thing that he told me was like that you're responsible like for your own happiness. Like you can't let other people dictate how you feel or how you respond to things. And I really take that and run with, like, I tell myself like I'm responsible for my happiness. Like in the way I think and the way I pour into myself is what's gonna manifest, you know. So speaking more positively to myself or doing different meditation or mindfulness exercise or thinking differently when it comes to certain things. And even like for this whole season, like he actually helped me through this season of just looking at it race by race. Don't take the pass until the next race and the next race and next race, because that was something that I struggled with last year. Like I was doing bad in the race and then I'll take that over to the next race, not realizing I was carrying it throughout the whole season as a burden. And then just so happened when I actually found out about George, I ended up talking to him or something, and I ended up, when I went in PR, well, ran close to my PR literally the next day. My PR was 10:82. I ran 10:83, and the whole season I was running 11 seconds. I couldn't even crack 11. But he had said something to me like, you need to figure, because that year, that's when I didn't make the World Championship team individually, but I made the World Championship team individually the year prior. So I was like, going into it, I had already put pressure on myself to make the team. And then when things didn't work out, I felt like I just didn't do what it was that I needed to do. And I carried that throughout the rest of the season, as opposed to just leaving that where it was at and just focusing on the rest of the season. And once he told me that, like, I need to forgive myself for not making the team, I was like, okay, I never thought about it like that. Like I didn't realize that I was still carrying it, but the way I was responding to certain things he was asking or that we were talking about, he can tell that I was still carrying that. So when he made that statement, I was like, okay, forgive myself for not making the team. And then that's when I was able to go out there and run the PR. And I was like, oh, okay, I just had to approach it differently. And then we have a saying of like, just go out there and just be me, just have fun, just let things flow. Because when I have fun, that's when things tend to work out. When I put too much stress on myself, then things don't work out the way that I intend for them. And then he has this saying of outcome expectation. Like expect that things are going to go good. Expect that you're going to do X, Y, and Z, that you're going to fulfill whatever it is that you want, and this and that. So you have to look at things way differently than thinking negative what ifs. And then he also say like, when you think those negative what ifs, you're really manifesting those what ifs, because your body don't know that you're saying like what if. It just manifests that, okay, well, yesterday I did this and that, so today I'm trying not to do that. But this, your body's not listening to, your brain is not listening to the not part. It's just listening to the complaining and what it is that you trying to avoid, but you're really manifesting for you to do the wrong things that you're trying not to do. So I've just been looking at things differently and responding to things differently and saying things differently.
I have a story, and then I have one of your own quotes, and then I have a question. So, story, it reminds me, as we're talking about George Mumford, I recently came across this quote. I think it was from The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. And they were interviewing Phil Jackson, and they asked Phil, what was like the most like amazing thing about Michael? And, most people expect to, Phil to say, well, it was his shot making ability, or it was his, determination, or he was always so clutch, all the things that when we think of Michael Jordan, we kind of attribute to him.
Mm-hmm.
But Phil Jackson said the number one thing, the most impressive thing about Michael was his ability to stay in the moment and to stay focused. And when he was, he'd be walking by media after a game, and he would just look down, block out all the noise, and stay in the present moment. And he mentioned the same thing during a game. And, obviously in reading George's books and talking to George, he said, I think somebody asked him, who were like your best students, when George was teaching, and he said Kobe and MJ. Like they were, far and away his best students. And so it always brings me back to A, the importance of staying in the present moment, and then B, when I look at some of the greats like MJ and Kobe, they had this willingness to learn all the time, and to like go back to, I think there's a fancier term for this, but it's almost like going back to being dumb about something. It's like when you're first learning about something, you know nothing about it, but it takes putting aside your ego to go back to, step one, where you don't know anything about a subject and trying to learn it from scratch. And that's what MJ and Kobe were able to do. I now bring us to this quote that you had about track. You said track is mostly mental. Your physicality is only a small percentage of what you're able to do because you can train and have the best workouts and practice every day. And once you get to the meet, if you don't have your mental right or anything, you're already defeated before you step on a track. That story and that quote brings me to my question of, as you're getting ready to start the race, and even as you're, rate, in the actual race, is there anything that you're telling yourself? Is your mind just off and free? Like what's the state of your
Um,
mentality?
I really just take moments to breathe when I feel like negative thoughts or I'm not thinking the way I want to be thinking. I'll just take a moment and just breathe. If I'm not doing that, then I'll just repeat different affirmations to myself. Like I'll tell myself, you a great starter. You have excellent top end speed. You belong. And I'll just keep reciting different affirmations to myself. And the people that I rely on in my support group, I may have conversation with them, and I'll take something that sticks out to me from our conversation, and I'll continue to recite that to myself as well. And then going into the race, I still recite those affirmations. Then when I'm on the line, I'll take a deep breath, and I'm usually just telling myself, patience and push, patience and push, patience and push, because I know if I get a good push out, I can set myself up to be in the race in the beginning, and I can set up the end of my race. Whereas if I don't get a good push out, then now I'm worrying, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that, now I'm just flowing through. I'm not really running through, I'm just going through the motions. And something else that I've actually been working on is trying to think differently when I am competing instead of just letting my mind be blank. Because we realize, like, when my mind is blank or if I'm thinking too much, then I don't do what it is I need to do. So we're trying to find a balance that can help me do what it is I need to do while still thinking the way I need to think properly. So I'm still learning my body and still learning how to compete smarter, be a better athlete. So yeah. But my mental has definitely increased this year. It got way stronger than last